Good morning, all. Morning, Shabab. Hello. Hello. Guys, can you hear me? Please put your hands up if you can hear me. Osama, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome Osama Darwish, Janna Gouda, Kiara, Yahya Awad, Yasmin, Sa'a, Abdurrahman Baghdadi, Abdurrahman Walid. I'm not sure what's wrong with Baghdadi, Walid, Ryan, and Yasmin Said. Guys, can you hear me? The four names I've just mentioned, can you hear me? Yes, Osama? Osama, do you
Yes,
want to
Mr.
say something? Yes?
Yes, we can hear you.
Excuse me?
We can hear you, Mr. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Osama, put your hand down. Right. Yesterday we read up to this part, to the end of this part in the book. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Okay. We did up to this part, as I said yesterday, and the last sentence we read was the book thief. This is the book thief, part 1. The book thief had struck for the first time the beginning of an illustrious career. Again, for the first time, the girl steals a book. If you remember, the book was called The Grave Digger's Handbook. It was a handbook that consists of 12 steps guide on how to dig a grave and bury a dead body properly, or the proper way. The girl at that time, as we read yesterday, she couldn't read or write, but she wanted to scratch out a place for her. You know, some people try to grab your attention by doing something wrong. Maybe it's something psychological. The girl found this. She resorted to stealing books. She resorted to stealing books. Welcome, other people. Now I have Tadros, Hala Sharif, Kiara, Jana Walid, Lolwa, Yasmin Sa'a, Yasmin Said, Abdurrahman Baghdadi, Abdurrahman Walid, Janna Gouda, Haya, Osama Darwish, Ryan Anwar, Tadros, and Yahya Awad. Okay, so as I said, the last part we read yesterday was this sentence. The book thief, which is Liesel Meminger, had struck for the first time. She had stolen her first book, the beginning of an illustrious career, starting the career of theft. She became a thief Illustrious here means famous. She started her career as a thief at this moment, the moment she found the book at the cemetery when they were burying her dead brother Werner, and the book fell from the boy, the 14-year-old boy, and she picked it up and hid it in her clothes and went to her foster parents with her mother. Hi. The next part is growing up as Aumensch. If you remember, we said this word many times. Saumensch is a German word used for insulting someone. It means swine, you swine or you pig, and it's used for women only or females only. A man is a Saukerl, Saukerl, K-E-R-L. Sau is S-A-U in German. When the S comes at the beginning, most of the time it's pronounced za, and AU in German is au, so this is Sau or Sau in English. Sau in English, S-O-W, means a female pig. You know this. So a Saumensch is an insult for a female. Okay? Yes, the writer or the narrator, Death, the omniscient narrator, completes the sentence. Here he said, the beginning of an illustrious career, and here he answers, yes, an illustrious career, because she will do this again and again throughout the novel. I should hasten to admit, the speaker here is Death, the narrator. I should hasten to admit, however, that there was a considerable hiatus between the first stolen book and the second. There was a period of time. There was a considerable period of time. Another noteworthy point is that the first was stolen from snow. As we said, the book fell on the snow at the cemetery when they were burying the boy. And the second from fire. Two opposites. The first one was stolen from the snow, and the second one was stolen from fire. Can you imagine it? Not to omit that others were also given to her. Some books were not stolen, but they were given to her. Some people throughout the novel give her some books as presents and gifts. All told, she owned 14 books. All in all, at the end, she had 14 books, but she saw her story as being made up predominantly of 10 of them. The most important number was 10 only of them. Of those 10, 6 were stolen, 6 books were stolen. One showed up at the kitchen table. She found one at the kitchen table. 2 were made for her by a hidden Jew. Max Vandenberg, as we know, made 2 books for her, and 1 was delivered by a soft yellow dressed afternoon, and 1 was delivered to her as a gift. When she came to write her story, when she grew up, she became a writer and she wrote her own story. She would wonder exactly when the books and the words started to mean not just something, but everything. Was it when she first set eyes on the room with shelves and shelves of them? When she found herself in the library, if you remember, of the mayor? Or when Max Vandenberg arrived on Himmel Street, carrying handfuls of suffering and Hitler's Mein Kampf? Was it reading in the shelters that interested her in books? The last parade to the cow, remember the cow? Was it the word shaker? Perhaps this is a title of one of the books, okay? Perhaps there would never be a precise answer as to when and where it occurred. Where did her passion in books occur? And by the way, the word shaker here refers to Hitler, who was an orator. He was good at giving speeches, as you know. In any case, that's getting ahead of myself. This is Death speaking again. Before we make it to any of that, we first need to tour Liesel Memminger's beginnings on Himmel Street and the art of Zhao I consider it an art to Zhao other people or to insult other people. Upon her arrival, you could still see the bite marks of snow on her hands and the frostly blood on her fingers. You know, when it is very cold, your hand or your fingers turn bluish, I think. They turn dark, right? When you are very, very cold. Everything about her was undernourished. She was weak. She was small. She was little. Wire-like shins, as if her shins, her legs were like a wire, as thin as a wire. Can you imagine that? Coat hanger arms. Her arms were like a coat hanger. You know, the hanger in which you hang your coat, how thin they are. She did not produce it easily, but when it came, she had a starving smile. She was very, very weak. She was very, very hungry. Her hair was a close enough brand of German blonde. Her hair was blonde as you watched in the movie, but she had dangerous eyes. She was full of challenge. Dark brown. You didn't really want brown eyes in Germany around that time. Her hair was fair like any German, or most of the Germans, but her eyes were dark, not blue. Perhaps she received them from her father, but she had no way of knowing, as she couldn't remember him. There, she wasn't sure whether whether her father's eyes were blue or not, or brown, sorry, or not. There was really only one thing she knew about her father. It was a label she did not understand. He was a communist. And here it's written in German, a communist. And this is how it is pronounced in German. She heard it several times. She didn't understand what it meant. She heard this word, the word communist, communist, several times in the past few years. In English, communist. She heard the word communist. Her father, people said again and again in front of her that her father was a communist. There were boarding houses crammed with people, rooms filled with questions, and that word. Many people found in a specific place are crowded in a small place, and she heard the word communist, communist. That strange word was always there somewhere. Anywhere she went in this place, she heard it. Standing in the corner, watching from the dark, it wore suits, uniforms, no matter where they went. There it was. Each time her father was mentioned, she could smell it and taste it. Communist, communist. Meminger, Mr. Meminger, the communist, the communist. She just couldn't spell or understand it. You know, Liesel was about to turn 10 and she couldn't read or write at that moment. When she asked her mother what it meant, Mama, what is the meaning of communist? They say my dad is a communist. She was told that it wasn't important because she was still young, that she shouldn't worry about such things. At one boarding house, there was a healthier woman who tried to teach the children to write using charcoal on the wall. Liesel was tempted to ask her at school, when she went to school later, the meaning. She asked her about the meaning, but it never eventuated. Nobody answered her. One day, that woman, the teacher, was taken away for questioning. She didn't come back. The woman didn't come back for answering or talking about such stuff. When Liesel arrived in Malking, we agreed that this is the town in which Himmel Street lies, and it's not far from Munich. She had at least some inkling that she was being safe. She had something like a hint that she was safe, but that was not a comfort. If her mother loved her, why leave her on someone else's doorstep? Yani they said to her, we are saving you. that if this is saving me, why does my biological mother, my real mother, my birth mother, leave me and go away? Why? Why? Why for the third time? The fact that she knew the answers, if only at the most basic level, seemed beside the point. Her mother was constantly sick, and there was never any money to fix her. Liesel knew that, but that didn't mean she had to accept it. Her mother was really sick, and they couldn't buy medicine for her because they were poor. No matter how many times she was told that she was loved, there was no recognition that the proof was in the abandonment. Nothing changed the fact that she was a lost, skinny child in another foreign place with more foreign people alone. Whatever the reason is, why does my mother leave me and go away with those foreigners? The Hubermans, Hans and Rosa, lived in one of the small box-like houses on Himmel Street. A few rooms, a kitchen, and a shared outhouse with neighbors. The roof was flat, and there was a shallow basement for storage. It was supposedly not a basement of adequate depth. It wasn't that deep. In 1939, this wasn't a problem. Later in 1942 and 1943, it was. It was a problem to have a basement which is not deep. When air raids started, the British air raids, they always needed to rush down the street to a better shelter because their own basements were not good enough for this, for hiding from the raids. In the beginning, it was the profanity that made an immediate impact. It was so vehement and prolific. Every second word was either Zaumensch or Zauker or Arschloch, like asshole, sorry, as we say in, all of them are insults used by whom? By Rosa. For people who aren't familiar with these words, I should explain Zau, of course, refers to pigs. In the case of Zaumensch, it serves to castigate, to blame, berate, or plain humiliate a female. If you want to insult a female, you would say to her, you Zaumensch. Zauker, pronounced Zauker, is for a male. Arschloch can be translated directly into this word. That word, however, does not differentiate between the genders. It simply is. Okay, it can be used for males or females. Zaumensch, du Dreckigs, or a German word, can't read it. Liesel's foster mother shouted that first evening when she went to live with them, when she refused to have a bath. They wanted to give her a shower or a bath. The girl refused. You filthy pig. This is the translation of this part. You filthy. You know, filthy means really dirty. Why won't you get undressed? Get undressed. She was good at being furious. Rosa was being angry easily. In fact, you could say that Rosa Huberman had a face decorated with constant fury. Her face was decorated with fury all the time. That was how the creases, the crinkles, were made in the cardboard texture of her complexion. Her complexion or her face was full of creases and wrinkles all the time, wrinkles. Liesel naturally was bathed in anxiety. She was bathed. There was no way she was getting into any bath or into bed for that matter. She was twisted into one corner of the closet-like washroom, clutching for the non-existent arms of the wall for some level of support. There was nothing but dry paint, difficult breath, and the deluge of abuse from Rosa. Rosa, which means Rosa forced her to have this bath. Leave her alone. Hans entered the fray, the fight between the girl and her mama, or her foster mama. His gentle voice made its way, in, as if slipping through a crowd. There was some fight between the girl and Rosa. He said to her, "Leave her alone. Leave her to me." He moved closer and sat on the floor against the wall. The tiles were cold and unkind. The tiles of the floor. You know how to roll a cigarette? This is Hans talking to Rosa, to Liesel, sorry. He asked her about a completely different topic to grab her attention. You know how to roll a cigarette? He asked her. And for the next hour or so, they sat in the rising pool of darkness, playing with the tobacco. You know, the tobacco is the material or substance which we put in the cigarettes, and the cigarette papers, and Hans Opperman smoking them. So she sat with him, rolling some cigarettes, and he sat smoking them. When the hour was up, Liesel could roll a cigarette moderately well, clearly well. She still didn't have a bath. Some facts about Hans Huberman, Liesel's foster father. He loved to smoke. He was a heavy smoker. The main thing he enjoyed about smoking was the rolling. He enjoyed rolling the cigarettes very much. He was a painter by trade. His job was a painter and played the piano, accordion. So by job or by trade, he was a painter. But he had a hobby playing the piano accordion. So he was an accordionist. This came in handy. When something comes in handy, this means it's useful. Sometimes he didn't find anything to paint, but he went to nightclubs and such stuff to play music and earn some money because he was bored, especially in winter. People didn't paint their houses in winter. When he could make a little money playing in the pubs. Okay? In the pubs of Malkin, like the Knoller, this is one of the pubs. He had already cheated me in one world war, but this is, I just want to stop here to ask you who is the speaker here, guys, because I'm not sure whether you're still following or not. If you know the speaker here, the sentence again says, he had already cheated me in one world war, but would later be put into another as a preserved kind of reward, where he would somehow manage to avoid me again. So Hans avoided me twice, once in one world war and the other in the Second World War. Who is the speaker here? Put your hand up if you're following up, please. If you are following up, put your hand up. I have Hala Sharif. Hey, Hala.
It's death.
Death, yes, the narrator, the omniscient narrator. He said that Hans escaped me twice. Hans, as you know, took part in World War I, and he survived because Max's father rescued him. We'll know how later. The second time, the Second World War, he was also rescued in a way or another, but at the end he will meet death. No way he would escape. Thank you, Hala. To most people, Hans Huberman was barely visible and a special person. Certainly, his painting skills were excellent. He was an excellent painter. His musical ability was better than average. He wasn't excellent at playing music, but better than average. So. Somehow, though, and I'm sure you met people like this, he was able to appear as merely part of the background. He didn't like to be on camera. He was maybe shy, he didn't want to appear, or he wasn't very self-confident. Even if he was standing at the front of a line, he didn't want to be noticed. He was always just there, not noticeable, not important or particularly valuable. Okay? The frustration of that appearance, as you can imagine, was its complete misleadance. Let's say there most definitely was value in him, and it did not go unnoticed by Liesel Memminger. Again, he was valuable in a way or another, but Liesel noticed this excellency, or in he was a distinguished person. Nobody noticed him, but the girl did. The human child, so much cannier at times than the stupefyingly ponderous adult. Did here want to say that some children are more, let's say, smarter than adults. This line means some children, or the human children, are smarter, are cannier, are, than the some stupid adults. She saw it immediately. She saw that uh, uh, Hans was distinguished. His manner, the quiet air around him. We are still talking about Hans Huberman. When he turned the light on in the small, callous washroom that night, Liesel observed the strangeness of her foster father's eyes. They were made of kindness and silver, like soft silver melting. Liesel, upon seeing those eyes, understood that Hans Huberman was worth a lot. He was an important person to her. Some facts about Rosa, his wife. She was 5 feet, 1 inch tall. This means about 164, 65 centimeters. 5 feet, 152.5 meters, and an inch is about, I'm not sure, maybe about 160 centimeters all in all, and wore her browny gray strands of elastic hair in a bun. She was making a bun. You know what a bun is? She was wearing her hair in a bun. To supplement the Huberman income, because they didn't earn much money, she did the washing and ironing for 5 of the wealthier households in Malki. She did the laundry and the ironing for 5 rich families. Her cooking was atrocious. Her cooking was not that good. She possessed the unique ability to aggravate almost anyone she ever met. She could insult anyone, but she did love Liesel Memminger. Internally, she loved the girl. Her way of showing it just happened to be strange. It involved bashing her with wooden spoon and words at various intervals. Okay, she was using the wooden spoon to punish her all the time. Sometimes she was being kind to her. When Liesel finally had a bath after 2 weeks of living on Hemmel Street, so her first bath was after 2 weeks of living on Hemmel Street. She stayed for 14 days without a single bath. Okay, we are going to finish in 5 minutes, guys. So Rosa gave her an enormous injury-inducing hug after having her first bath. Rosa hugged her to congratulate her on the first bath, nearly choking her. She was about to choke her, to kill her. She said, Zamish, du dreckigis. You dirty girl or filthy girl. It's about time. You took much time to have this bath. After a few months, they were no longer Mr. and Mrs. Huberman. With a typical fistful of words, Rosa said, now listen, Liesel, from now on you call me Mama. She thought a moment. What did you call your real mother? Liesel answered quickly, Auch Mama. Auch means also. Well, I am Mama number 2 then. She looked over at her husband and him over there, this man over there. She seemed to collect the words in her hand, put them together, and hurled them across the table. That Zauker, this pig, that filthy pig, you call him Papa. Versteht? Understand? Verstehst? Sorry? Yes. Liesel promptly agreed. So from now on, Liesel is going to call them Mama and Papa. Quick answers were appreciated in this household. Yes, Mama. Mama corrected her. Zaumensch, call me Mama when you talk to me. Okay. At that moment, Hans Huberman had just completed rolling a cigarette, having licked the paper and joined it all up like people who roll cigarettes do. They lick the paper with their tongues and join them up as if they glue them with their saliva. Sorry. He looked over at Liesel and winked. She would have no trouble calling him Papa. Okay, I'll stop here. Remember that the next part is the woman, or the title of the next part is the woman with the iron fist. Before I leave, can you just tell me who this woman is? The woman with the iron fist. You know, your fist is your closed hand. When it's iron, this means the woman with the strong fist. I need your answers, please, before we leave. Who is the woman with the iron fist? Yusuf Awad, can you answer? Yusuf, are you there? Hi, let's go to Yasin. Yasin, can you answer this question if you're there? Haya, can you hear me? Nobody there, guys? Let's try Kiara. Kiara, are you there?
Yes.
So somebody's listening. Thank you, Kiara. They all are sleeping or doing. Can you answer the question? Who this woman? Can you guess who this woman is? Kiara? Kiara, are you still there?
Yes.
So can you guess who this woman is? The woman with the iron fist? Who is this woman in your opinion?
Lisa?
Lisa? You mean Rosa? Rosa, right? Rosa Huberman, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Kiara. Okay, guys, I'll end the meeting now. See you Sunday, inshallah.